How are you, Jeff?
I'm good, Rich. I think I've almost to the point that I believe what I saw last night, but I'm still not quite there.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. I mean, sum up the feelings of you on behalf of all the Atlanta sports fans out there right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's especially since Cleveland has won a championship now and the Cubs won a championship. It's the most tormented city in the country, and even in a city and with a franchise that has had so many bad and horrible moments, last night just kind of blew them all away. And I mean, you have a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl and a 39-year-old quarterback, and the other team actually looks like a 39-year-old quarterback. And you know, the Falcons were younger, faster, hungrier, it almost looked like. I thought they were out coaching New England, and things fell apart. I mean, they had a couple of really bad offensive play calls by Kyle Shanahan that kind of opened the door, and Tom Brady sort of drove through it. And you know, to me, once it was within a touchdown, it's like, you know what, this thing's all over. I mean, I think New England might come back and win this, and that's exactly what happened. It's one of those events that you never forget, no matter which side you're on.
So what, you know, when you have a fan of your work or a Falcon fan come up to you and ask you the inevitable question of how the hell did that happen, how would you answer that question, Jeff?
Well, I mean, the question you usually get in something like this is, or the statement is, well, the Patriots didn't win it, we lost it, or you know, the other way around. And, you know, my response to that, I really hate that sort of premise, but because you need both things to happen. I mean, you needed the greatness of Tom Brady on the other side, but this doesn't happen unless basically the Falcons blow it. And the Falcons blew it. And they had, you know, even after the first touchdown pulled within 8 points, they were in field goal range. And all they had to do was basically almost take two knees and instead of Kyle Shanahan call the pass play. Mm-hmm. And Matt Ryan got sacked. And then next thing you know, they're out of field goal range. And, you know, I think Kyle's a really good offensive coordinator, but he sort of outthought himself last night. And you just can't give the other team a shot. And look, I think the Falcons are built really well for the future. But one of the problems in sports and certainly in the NFL is you just can't really trust what's on paper. And you don't know if the Falcons are ever going to get back to this moment or not. And so my response is that I guess they weren't quite ready for this moment yet, excuse me, and talent notwithstanding and youth notwithstanding, I don't know if they'll ever get back there. They might. I mean, on paper, they look good, but you just don't know. A lot of things have to go right during a season to get to a Super Bowl.
Jeff Schultz of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. And I guess part of the fact that they can get back is how they handle all of this.
Absolutely.
Best you know, how do you think Ryan and or Quinn are equipped to handle all of this?
Well, you know, Dan Quinn was on the field when Seattle blew that Super Bowl. Against New England, actually, 2 years ago, when Darrell Bevell of the Seahawks had an awful offensive call. You know, in terms of the players, they said all the right things after the game. I mean, I asked Julio Jones how long does it take to let go of it, and he goes, "I've already let go of it. I moved on." And
no way.
Julio might be. Yeah, I know. I was going to say Julio might be the only guy I would believe to say that. But no, I tend to agree with you. I don't know that anybody will let go of it until they win a championship, and if they win a championship, because that is now going to be the measurement. I mean, no matter what they do in the offseason, no matter what they do in the regular season next year, and no matter what they do in their first or second playoff game, if they get there, people are always going to say, let's see what happens when you get to the Super Bowl. And, you know, this is a franchise that's been to the Super Bowl twice. Once was an embarrassment when they had a player arrested the night before the game for soliciting an undercover agent dressed as a prostitute. And the second one was when they blew the biggest lead in playoff history. So they're not your everyday franchise that happened to go to a Super Bowl twice. They are now associated with those two events, and that doesn't go away unless they win one.
Jeff Schultz of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution here on the show. And then in your column, I mean, this one really blew me away. How Kyle Shanahan's night in the stadium ended. Were you there,
Yeah.
Jeff? Can you roll through this for those who don't know?
Yeah, so basically the way it works for those who aren't in press boxes and stuff after games, I mean, a lot of the assistant coaches coach from upstairs, obviously, in the coaching booth, and immediately after games they go to an elevator, and an elevator is held for them to go down before the media, or they hold one just for the coaches. No fans from suites can get on. So Falcon coaches came out, including Kyle Shanahan, and they were standing by this elevator, which was on the same level as the press box. And they were there for at least 5 minutes, I would say, Rich. And the elevator never came. And I think one of the workers said, they're having problems or it's stuck. You might just want to walk. And, of course, these guys are not in the happiest mood as it is. So they're like, screw it. So they finally walk down the hall. They walk down a flight of stairs. And they're basically starting to follow the colored duct tape that we all have to follow
right.
in the media Super Bowl world to get down to the bottom level. And they go down one flight of stairs, and they're going through basically a fan plaza with fans who are looking around saying, is that Kyle Shanahan? Are those Falcon coaches? And they're walking by concession stands. And then one of the stadium workers says, hey, come back. We're going to bring an elevator down to this floor for you. So they're like, okay. So they by now they've gone 50, 60 yards. They make a U-turn. They come back to the bank of elevators, only a floor below where they were originally. And they're waiting there. And they waited for, Rich, I would say at least 15 minutes.
No.
Yes. The elevator, finally the elevator came. But from the time they originally went to the first bank of elevators to the bottom, it was probably at least 20 minutes. It was the weirdest, strangest thing I ever saw. Shanahan, understandably, was going crazy, as were the other coaches. These poor, I felt sorry for the stadium workers who, minimum wage guys with yellow jackets or whatever and little earphones. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get the elevator here, but they're getting screamed at, and it was awful. It was awful, but it was sort of fitting. And by later on, Shanahan had sort of composed himself and went to the dais and tried to defend some of the play calls, but it was it wasn't a happy night for in Falcon land.
Wow, Jeff, thanks for calling in and telling those stories. We really appreciate it, and we feel for the Falcons fans today best we can. I mean, would you call this the worst loss in sports history?
Well, it's the worst one I've ever witnessed. So I go back to 1959.
Wow.
I'll have to check YouTube, but it's. I mean, when you consider, they're awful losses, Rich, but when you consider the stage of the Super Bowl, if this happens in week 3 against Tampa Bay and they blow a 28-3 lead, it's like, okay, they blew a 28-3 lead. The stage is what makes it big. And there's no stage bigger than the Super Bowl. So in that sense, I would be hard-pressed to say that there's a worse loss in sports history than this one.
Jeff, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. Safe flight home. I could hear you in the airport. Thanks for calling.
Okay, Rich. Take care.
You bet. Jeff Schultz of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.